As we come on the air tonight, we're following a possible mold situation in some Cedar Point employee dorms.
Former employees speaking out about the situation that they say left them suffering for months. 13 Action News I-Team reporter Carly Petrus has been investigating. She joins us live with the details. Carly.
Lee and Diane, looking at some of the pictures, it's hard to believe anyone was able to live in that dorm. We're told City and Cedar Point officials are now taking action to clean the mess. They started the job at Cedar Point back in May.
It was the worst I've ever felt in my life. I didn't know why I was feeling that way.
But Kaylee Tata and Alyssa Quintanilla say they had no idea why they were suddenly always so sick.
My whole body got weak and I could barely walk. I needed help walking to the bathroom.
That's until one morning when they took a closer look at the dorm they were paying to live in.
I found mold on one of my posters, and that's when I started to realize that is mold. We've been living in a moldy room. You would think that there wouldn't be mold in a place like that where people with disabilities and accommodations go to.
After learning about their concerns, I contacted a spokesperson for Cedar Point by email. He gave me this response about a day later. He said an associate notified our team of their concerns on Friday. We immediately responded and checked the room, but black mold wasn't found in that initial inspection. I also called the spokesperson for the city of Sandusky. He tells me they're aware of the situation, and just yesterday they sent a member of their code compliance team to investigate it. He says while the substance in the dorm wasn't tested, they suspect it's mold. He also sent me this statement by email. The city is in communication with Cedar Point about addressing the issue and will continue working with them to ensure it's resolved. Kaylee and Alyssa say they're disappointed they were forced to quit, mostly because of all the sick days they used.
Honestly, I feel cheated because I was staying in a place that was supposed to be like healthy, clean environment like they promised, but I had to leave early and lose on money that I was going to make for my future, basically, and now I can't get that.
But ultimately, they say they hope Cedar Point takes this seriously, so no one else has to live in the dorm they say they spent months suffering in. Alyssa and Kaylee say they've officially moved out of the dorms this week. We're going to continue and follow up with the city and Cedar Point to make sure the issue is resolved.
A water leak leads to a mold problem and leaves a woman desperate for help.
Now she's living in a rental home and says the conditions have made her sick. And now the KSHB 41 I-Team is working to get her answers. I-Team reporter Sarah Plate joins us live from that property. Sarah, what's being done to address this?
Well, the Housing Authority was just out here about a couple hours ago doing an inspection, but this tenant feels that something should have been done a lot sooner, and now she says all of her stuff is ruined.
I'm getting dizzy and lightheaded. We're gonna have to get some air.
Stacy Bennett says she's been dealing with a water leak inside her rental home for months, which has progressed into a mold problem.
I believe in April was my first work order I put in, and then another in October about my floor coming up. And I'm hearing noises, loud noises from this water heater still.
She says this issue has spread throughout the house.
You can just tap it. You can see the floor moving up and down.
She told us a maintenance worker with Oakland Heights found the problem near the water heater and down in the crawl space.
This is where the mold is.
Stacy wishes she would have been relocated immediately. She says the property management had a crew come out to suck out the water and run fans for a few days.
It made it worse, and I had breathing problems.
Looking around, you might not be able to see mold, but you can certainly smell it, and it hits you right as soon as you step in the door.
Everything is damaged. I can't take anything with me.
Stacy took pictures of all the things she had to throw out because they smelled like mold. She called her own adjuster and brought in a mold testing company that she's paying for out of pocket.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm with 41 News.
We asked Oakland Heights to explain the situation. They gave us the number to the property owners, McCormick Barron in St. Louis. They have not responded to our requests.
So I'm trying to follow processes and stay in compliance with both them and Section 8. I want them to take responsibility. I want them to pay for my all my damaged items. I had to throw so much away.
The company is moving her to another unit for 30 days while they do the repairs. She found out she won't have to pay any rent during that time or moving expenses. The Kansas City Housing Authority sent a crew out to do an inspection after KSHB 41 News called them. The last time they did an inspection was April 23rd, 2021, and said the home passed at that time.
Today we talked to Mold Test KC. That's the company Stacy hired on her own. And the owner didn't want to go on camera, but he said no doubt the house smells like mold. So he and his crew came out and they did air samples inside and out, and they will send those off to a lab. He also told us that he does not suggest for anybody who's in this type of situation to bring items from a mold-infested house to a new house, because all you're doing is just bringing the mold with you. In Kansas City, I'm Sarah Plake, KSHP 41 News.
What should we price this at, honey?
About $5, I'd say.
In Roseville today, Mary White and her husband David were busy selling off their entire collection of keepsake lighthouses. Beautiful lighthouses of every shape, color, and description. The Whites have more than 50 of them from all over the world, but now they're being forced to sell them off to pay for David's medical expenses. You see, David is battling stage 5 kidney disease.
It kills me. It's scary. You know, if he don't get a kidney, he dies, you know.
Yes, David is in the biggest battle of his life, but as if he doesn't already have enough going on, this past spring, his health was threatened again. This time by, of all things, the house next door. A house that is vacant, a house that flooded this past winter and was overtaken by dangerous black mold.
Horrible. We couldn't even sit out on the front porch for 5 minutes without getting a headache.
Horrible without a doubt, but Mary says for her husband David, who is immune suppressed, that black mold could actually be deadly because his body has so much trouble fighting off germs.
So he doesn't have an immune system, so like he can't get a cold or anything like that, or he can possibly reject his liver and die.
Right away, Mary started a one-woman campaign to get rid of that black mold and protect her husband.
We tried to get a hold of the mayor. We sent an email to him. I repeatedly called the city. I called the EPA.
Finally exhausted and at the end of her rope, that's when Mary called the Call for Action team. We contacted officials at the city of Roseville, and just a matter of weeks later, work crews went in and cut out a large portion of the home's first floor, removing entire walls that were covered in that black mold.
Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart to be able to call somebody and get the help and not have to worry every day that my husband's gonna die if he walks out the door from the mold next door.
Yeah, this was very serious. Not just a problem with black mold, but a health problem involving possibly life and death. I'm Bill Spencer, the Call for Action team. If you've got a problem, call us at 248-827-3362. Again, 248-827-3362. Call for Action.
Kids will have to move, leaving everything behind. Crystal Clark is investigating this story.
All of our belongings, my children's things, their toys. I know that they're all replaceable, but it's hard to explain that. It's hard to explain to your children that their things are gone.
4 months of living inside what could be a toxic home. Shelley Holt says she noticed something was wrong in October after she and her 3 kids started breaking out in rashes.
I was hopeful that the itching and everything was caused from something
I'm just gonna zoom
other than what it turned out to be.
Shelley says her landlord and a contractor inspected her rental home, but claimed to find nothing but dust throughout the insulation in the walls. Taking matters into her own hands, Shelley reached out to scientists at the nearby university, giving them samples of shiny particles she saw blowing inside the home. And professors at Tiffin University tell me when they got a look at those samples, they knew there was something wrong.
You got mold behind the wall, eating away at the fiberglass insulation, and the vents are blowing all through the house.
Professors Shoup and Ghosh believe it's black mold combined with fiberglass particles from the insulation. They say it can be a very dangerous mix for your health.
So it'll be like a cold because you're breathing it in. You may get headaches, which will make you feel sick and not want to do anything, which will, escalate.
Shelley says she moved her kids out of the home, but she's afraid everything else will have to stay.
My great-grandmother's piano is in the room where the black mold actually was found, and it's been in our family for almost 100 years.
I reached out to Shelley's landlord, who says he has his own independent scientist looking into the possibility of black mold in the home. He expects to get lab results back within a week. Reporting in Tiffin, I'm Crystal Clark.
It's summertime, a hot, humid season that often leads to mold in Central Georgia homes. And we often hear from tenants with mold complaints in their houses and apartments.
So does mold in a rental property actually violate Georgia housing code? Camila Williams set out to verify.
It can grow anywhere from outside your home, your office, and inside apartment complexes like the one behind me. I'm talking about mold. So if you do find mold in your apartment, who's responsible? Let's verify. Does mold in rental properties violate Georgia law?
Our sources, the Georgia Department of Public Health, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and the Bibb County Code Enforcement. The EPA defines mold as a fungus that lives in damp places like soil, plants, and dead or decaying matter. One woman who lives at the Autumn Trace Apartments in Bibb County says she has mold coming into her room from the unit below. Mold can grow on wood, carpet, and insulation. The Georgia Department of Public Health says, quote, rental properties may be subject to a local housing code. So I went to the Bibb County Code Enforcement website and found that they do not test for mold. However, there are health risks involved for indoor mold growth, such as skin rash, asthma attacks, and other respiratory illnesses.
Our answer, no. Georgia does not have any laws addressing landlord responsibilities for mold prevention. However, there are resources online on how to get rid of mold. Camila Williams, 13 WMAZ News.